Yeah, the stress is hard to move. I'm going to change the system, and I did think about doing it for this like session coming up, but because this is like the halfway point. But I think I'll just leave it until we start a new campaign. I don't want to get people to new sheets and that kind of thing. Even though it's very similar, but I just thought I'll just keep it the way it is.
The Mythos, Shadows over Scotland.
Yeah, that's what the source book's called, Shadows of Scotland. I also saw somebody in Reddit that just played the actual Call of Cthulhu scenarios from it.
Oh, neat. So we're gonna have lots of spoopiness, and I'm not gonna be like, oh, for fuck's sake, John.
No, this is a very. This is just to kind of just cover, you um, coming back in with Catherine, really.
Mhm.
But there is a couple of clues possible for you to find. We're not actually here, we are in the lake. So immediately after you had like swam to shore, you, Catherine, Finley, and Mildred make your way. The train's not going to be up for a few hours yet because it's very early in the morning. Still, sun's still coming up. So you just make your way into Catherine's home, which has had the door busted open. You secure the door when you get inside. You've got your gun to stand guard, just to make sure there's nobody else shows up and tries to drag anyone off. And you start the fire inside, and you sit in silence and dry yourselves off for a couple hours. You see the fishermen outside coming out for the early morning fish. Everyone's bustling about. Nobody's coming to the house paying much attention. Eventually, you will hear the train pulling into the station, and at that point, you decide to make a dash across for the train and just buy your tickets and go straight on to Glasgow.
Yep.
And on the train, you and Catherine take up one end of the empty carriage, and Mildred and Finlay take up the other end of the empty carriage, just to keep an eye on both of the entrances. Just in case, because you're obviously on edge at this point still. And it's not until you pull out of the station that you begin to breathe and relax a little bit and feel like you're leaving the danger zone. So you're sat there with Catherine, and she's still very, her hair's all matted. She's got, you can see in the light now that she's got scratches all over her, and a couple of bruises on her face around her jaw. Her long red hair is all kind of like tied up and messy. There are bits of seaweed in it that she's still not managed to pull out. And she's obviously quite pale looking and very tired. She's got the marks under her eyes and everything. But you'll be on the train for about 5 hours, 6 hours before you actually get into Glasgow.
Whew. Busy.
I guess we're safe now, at least.
Oh, you can only hope. I'm trying to think. I don't think they would have let. Where else would he have his shotgun on with him? Because I don't know where else they'd be able to put it.
Yeah, I mean, you could just wrapped it in a jacket or something like that.
Aye, so it's like it's wrapped up in its wrapping, so to speak, but nearby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you would not have left that behind. I don't think so.
No, God, no. I was just trying to think like how it would be, but I imagine the conductor would need it stowed, so to speak, at least like wrapped up, so it's not like a bare gun just visible.
Yeah. I mean, you would have had a jacket or a bit of canvas or something you could have wrapped it up in when you were in the cottage. I mean, you could have stowed it under a chair when you're on the train, or put it up on the luggage bit.
Yeah, I imagine it's some leather strap case or something like that. It's. I'm not sure what to make of what's been happening. Things are just all too weird.
I've known those people for years at this point. I just never thought. I just didn't know that something like that was happening. I mean,
Aye.
when Paul wanted us to move out here because he thought it would, the fresh sea air would be nice. And even though he's working in Glasgow, it's not that far a journey. I mean, all our money's tied up in the house there and everything. I just don't want to go back.
It's like Paul sort of would probably take a few moments, and there'd be like this sort of quiet spell for a moment, like probably 10 minutes kind of thing. And probably just take a deep breath. So what does Paul do in Glasgow? And then trying to change the topic to try to cheer him up, so to speak, something that's not so morbid and macabre.
Oh, he's an accountant. He was with a firm for a while, but he's what do they call it? Freelance. So yeah, he's a sort of, he works for like private clients. He's working for some. Is it account? He's a knight. He's been knighted or something like. Is a title. Some rich guy in Glasgow. I think he stays in the West End. But yeah, he's got a small office. He just rents a little bed sit when he's there during the week, and then he comes home for the weekends usually.
Was it his idea for you to move up to Mallaig?
Yeah, he was very keen. We've been there for 2 years. He's been wanting to go there for the past 4 or 5 years or so.
Where did you get the idea from, if I can ask? It's quite a remote wee place to just decide to go on a kind of a whim.
Well, I think he just wanted to get away from the city. But we needed somewhere that had, a good connection so he could still do his work. So when they opened up the railway line, I think it was 10 years ago or something, Mallaig just became one of those places. And, I really liked the people. We were able to get a property for a little shop. It was going so well.
Has there been any disappearances up there in Mallaig? Or is this the first kind of encounter of any sort of nefarious actions? No,
I've never
stuff
seen
that we were able to get out of.
No, I never thought it was that kind of place at all. I mean, people come and go. It's a wee village. It's quite touristy. People come in seasonally. A lot of the fishermen, they kind of go and come with the seasons to different ports and fishing towns, depending on where the catch is. But I mean, the older folk, the ones that'd been there for a while, I could never imagined it was something so hideous. And how does no one know? I mean, it's just such a wee place. There's nowhere to hide.
Well, they've done a good job hiding. Like, hiding in plain sight, I guess. How was the church functioning for a while? Was there mass held often?
Not when I was there. No.
Right, so at least something nefarious had been happening for a few years. It's a messed up world, and I'm not quite sure what to make of it. Just happy we're out. And Paul just sort of stares out the window for a wee while.
Yeah, I think the two of you probably spend a long time in kind of silence. Mildred and Finlay, much the same. They have a chat for a little while, but you notice that they've pulled out the stone, and they're kind of looking at it for a little while and chatting as well. And they give you a nod across the carriage when you start to draw into Glasgow. Catholic. Paul, I don't mean to ask any more of you than I've already asked you, but do you think you could walk me up to my husband's his office?
Oh, I was going to walk you there whether you liked it or no. It actually gives off a hearty laugh.
She smiles, kind of half laughs, and breathes a sigh of relief herself.
I think he'd walk pretty good and strong and upright kind of thing, feeling like he'll being a big strong man looking after the women folk.
Yeah, plus it's as an environment he's more comfortable in as well, I imagine.
Cityscape kind of thing, and lots of crowds of people and such. So, whereas the village is a bit country folk.
So you just pull into Glasgow station eventually, and Mildred and Finlay say that they're going to head back to Edinburgh. They're going to, go back and get changed. They're going to see the father. They're going to take some of this information to the university and get it looked at.
Okay.
And obviously, you explain to them that you're going to walk Catherine up and get her seen to before you head home.
Yeah, I'm not role playing with them because they're not here. So I imagine it's one of those just things happen and they're off doing their thing, right?
And by now it's Tuesday morning, which is the 7th of March. And obviously you weren't meant to be away for too long anyway, so I imagine you're aware that you need to get up the road and back to work for tomorrow at the latest anyway.
Yeah. So he's a little bit antsy that he needs to get back, but, helping walk this woman to her man's work is fair enough. I mean, he has to wait for the connecting trains anyway. There's quite common, fair enough.
Yeah, and it's early morning, it's just like the first trains. You can still be back by like lunchtime if you get this wrapped up. And obviously you're not going to anticipate anything more than just kind of walking her up there. She explains that her husband's office is in Anderson, which is like a 15-minute walk from the station, maybe a little longer than that.
Nothing too far. I think he'd probably be quite happy. It said it's not like somewhere on like the south side or something like that. That's more of a slummy area. Like what the Gorbals used to be.
Oh, yeah, Scheme, or the slums as it was at that point.
Yeah, like he's probably quite happy that it's located over in Anderson.
Where is this scene that I made?
I really like the photos that you collect for these. They're very appropriate.
I really like researching them because there's a lot of really cool historical documents and photos around, and you end up going down a rabbit hole a lot of the time.
Finding all the niche information from back in the day, which is only ever
some of it is
that.
I was doing stuff for the island for them for the last one, and it's really interesting. I have not made this scene. Oh wait, I think I know of that. Yes, anyway, so you just walk along, you just go down Hope Street and along, oh my god, what's that street called? Argyle Street. And that'll take you to Anderson. Modern day, that's kind of where the motorway goes over. But at this point, it was still open roads for the trams and the carts, and lots of office buildings and apartments. Does that look like an office room to you?
It's still black for me, so I'm guessing it's still loading.
Oh wait,
I've
no.
just got black image.
Right, okay, hang on. It's one of these. I've layered it.
Yeah, that looks like an office to me.
Right, okay. Yeah, it's because I've layered the images.
Looks like a sort of a wireless on a sort of a table, some closets, a desk.
Yeah.
Multiple desks.
It's a 1920s office that I found. Yes, so you just get to the place and it's a sort of almost a tenement style kind of block. It'll be more of a kind of yellowy black, that kind of yellow sandstone that gets all the black markings when it's from the moisture, rather than the red ones. It's 3 stories high. The close part is got its own sort of private door. There won't be a doorman on it, and the door will be open. And when you walk in, you can see like the list of the businesses that take up residence here. And one of them is Mar Accountancy. You go up to the second floor where the office is, and tap on the door. It's a kind of standard door with the glass and the name on the front. You can see it says Paul Mar, and I don't know what the initials is for a registered accountant, but it would have that one as well.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Yep.
Yeah, so you tap on his door and you wait. There's no answer. You check your watch and you see it's not quite 9 o'clock, but it's close. Well, actually, no, I said to be like 5 hours, so it probably is about noon.
So probably, imagine if we got the first train, let's say that was 6, got in for about 11.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a little while before noon. So if you did have a lunch break, you'd expect them to take it at 12. So you would kind of expect them to be here this time. But you knock and there's no answer. Catherine knocks and then shouts, Paul, a couple of times through it.
Paul will just sort of lean forward and just sort of try the door just to see if it'll open. You know, in his thoughts is his wife's here. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory why they're here. It's not intruding.
Yes. The door is definitely locked.
Huh. Does your husband have a staff here?
No, I don't think he. No. Yeah, he used to have a secretary, but he doesn't have one anymore. Perhaps he's at home. I can't imagine why he would be, unless he's out with a client. But that seems unlikely, given the type of work he's doing for his client just now.
So just to get an idea, I'm guessing that this is an office in a sort of close, so it's like a block of offices, right? Paul will go to the immediate neighbouring office, right? And just sort of see if that's open. Oh, and I'll just, so you can figure out, he's going to ask like, hey, is this accountant's been open? You know, that he's going to ask. So whichever office is there,
Yeah,
if they're
there's
open
a solicitor
or
straight across the hall, and it's a Graham Darcy.
Oh, you know, chaps on the door, waits politely. When if it answers, apologies for bothering you. We're looking to talk to the accountants, but they seem to be locked. Do you know their opening hours? I just find it a bit bizarre for them to be closed at this time of day.
It's kind of middle-aged woman with spectacles answers. She's got sort of tied back brown hair and a green cardigan. She looks across and says, no, they're open regular business hours. Mr. Marr's usually in at this time.
Oh, when was the last time you saw them open?
I don't think I saw him yesterday. I certainly saw him on Friday. Yes, I certainly saw him on Friday when he was finishing.
Friday, oh. But, you know, just by any chance did he look a bit rushed, or just, you know, usual happy for it to be the weekend? As, you know, he chuckles a bit.
No, he seemed quite pleasant. We finished our business hours are the same, so we generally leave the building around the same time. He said hello, good evening, and asked how her day was, and general small talk. Are you a client of his?
Oh, actually, escorting his wife. Just surprised he's no in. And sort of, you know, Paul will step aside and sort of reference back to Catherine just standing nearby.
But when she sees Catherine, says, "Oh, you must be Catherine. Oh, I've heard so much about you." And she shakes her hand. She says, "No, I'm sorry, I haven't seen Paul. It was Friday I last saw him. He might have been in yesterday, but I didn't notice him. Although I did think it was a little odd we didn't see him in the morning. But that happens sometimes. I'm sorry I can't be more help. Have you tried?
Oh, no,
have you tried his telephone or his bedsit perhaps?
Oh, you didn't mind if we can, you know, use your telephone to get in touch, could you?
Just a moment, please. She goes back into office. She comes back a
Mhm.
few minutes later. She says, "Oh, that should be okay as long as it's a quick call." Yeah.
Of course. So, Paul will just sort of ask Catherine if she can just try the numbers and stuff like that. And I'm guessing she does her thing. And
Yeah. So
does she have any luck?
she calls up. She speaks to the operator and she asks for to be put through to the address. And you can all hear the phone ringing in the office across the hall. And it rings out and it rings out and it rings out without answer.
Sort of Paul sort of strokes his chin, contemplatively, like, this doesn't feel right.
Catherine starts getting a little panicky. She gives the phone back. And thanks for using it. And close again, she's whispering to you. She's like, I really don't like this, Paul. This isn't like him at all.
You said he has a bed sit. Is that nearby?
Yeah, aye, it's just round the corner. It's on the Barton Road.
Let's give that a try.
It's like a 5-6 minute walk around the corner. You come out onto the street and you go up the hill, go north, and then take a left onto the Barton Road. And again, it's all like 10-minute blocks all the way down. You just go along to a couple of doors down. Again, it's up on the second floor. And when you knock on the door, a man in a suit answers. He's got like a little mustache, quite dark brown hair.
Paul.
Yeah, can I help you?
Good afternoon, sir. Name's Paul. I'm looking for Paul. This is Catherine, his wife, just looking to chat with him.
Oh, Catherine, hi. I'm George. I think we spoke once before. And she seems to recognise him. Paul's not here. I'm not sure where he's been. But I mean, you can help yourself. Go right in, have a seat, and wait for him if you want. I'm not sure
when
where
was
he's.
the last you saw him?
I think Sunday afternoon. Yes. I was leaving to go visit my brother, and he was in the house writing some papers. And I just told him that I was on my way out. When I came back, he wasn't here. I never saw him all day yesterday.
Did he say where he was going on Monday?
He said
On Sunday?
he did mention that he might not be back for a few days. But he didn't tell me where he was going, and I was in a rush, so I didn't think to ask.
Oh, that's entirely fair. Catherine, I think we should take him up on his offer of visiting his room and just sort of relaxing and seeing what we can do.
But yes, I suppose we better take a look.
So we thank the gentleman, head into his room. The logic is, I mean, it's a lot easier to be in his room than it would be to be in his office.
Oh, obviously.
Immediately, Paul will have a look over surfaces to see if there's any books or things like that, ledgers, journals, these kinds of things, anything that could have been wrote in.
So his bedsit is very sparse. You've got the bed, you've got a kind of dresser with his clothes, and when you open it, look through it, you'll find that it's mostly his clothes that are in there. Belts and pins and stuff like that. There's... You need to roll... So it's intelligence... Plus she'll be helping, so roll 1 dice.
He's not a very intelligent guy, though.
Yeah, but she'll be helping anyway, so...
Right, 1d6.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
Yes, so you find quite easily a ledger, which is of financial transactions. Skimming through it, you can see there's various like markings and calculations for interest and tax deductions. And this is for what seems to be his only client, the Arkwright estate. It's Sir Gregory Arkwright.
And sort of as Paul's like looking over these, and he sort of taps on this name, Paul just sort of says, "So you said he has a sort of someone who knighted him, like a sort of he has a title. What was the name of the guy that gave him the title? Is it?" Paul makes it sound like he's just having small talk as he's reading through the book.
Who knighted the client?
Sorry, no. The name of the client. You know them at all? Have you interacted with them?
I've never met them. It was White,
Right.
something like that.
Did he chat much about them at all?
No, no.
What they actually do? And what?
No, he said it was a large estate and it was big enough that was going to keep him busy for some months. I think he's been working for him for at least 6 months. But yeah. He didn't talk much about it. He said it was a fairly uninteresting, nothing special account. It's just that they had a lot of investments in assets and interests, and it required someone to specifically manage them. But I did find this, and she pulls out a small set of keys from underneath the pillow.
Are those the keys to the office?
They might be, aye. There's no names or numbers on them, but I don't see anything in here that he could have been using them for. I know this one's our house key back home.
Sort of, Paul like closes the ledger up, and while he's looking at the key. Now, I personally find that quite a worrisome thing that he didn't bring those with him.
His work clothes are all here. Like these are the suits. This is his shoes and his belt. If he's wearing anything, he's wearing hiking gear or something. Outdoor gear. But I don't understand. He told them that he was going away somewhere. I wasn't expecting them home until the weekend.
This weekend coming?
Yeah.
Hmm.
You don't think... Oh my god, you don't think he has another woman?
Compared to what we've experienced, it would be preferable if he had another woman compared to what happened up there.
Well, maybe for you.
Another woman we can deal with.
Oh god, do you think something's happened to him?
We can hope not. We can hope that as we're doing this, he just appears out and asks us, Jiminy Crivens, who are you and what are you doing? And then you appear and it'll all be fine. But these past few weeks have, if anything, have taught me that something nefarious is going on.
Weeks?
Aye. He has a wee bit of small talk in regards to how he's been trying to get a house for sale and some things have been going on. People have been going missing and such. And he says that there's only so far he can go to explain things.
Yeah, and she's looking more and more worried the more you go on.
And so he looks like he's chewing tobacco, but he's not got any tobacco in his mouth. Kind of like that kind of like thoughtful chewing, like chewing on your tongue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. If there's nothing else here, I think we should go to the office. Something about this Arkwright and these ledgers is not sitting right with me.
I'll leave him a letter in case he comes home, and she writes it. Yeah, she pulls out a bit of paper and a pen, leaves a little note on the
Fantastic idea. And I'm just thinking, Paul will probably have a flurry through this ledger, but it's probably all accountants gobbledygook, right?
Yes. I mean, you can
And-
roll your intelligence with 2 dice using the worst if you want to try and make sense.
You know what? Yeah. See if there's anything in it just that makes sense. Like, for instance, where this Arkwright's based or something like that, his home, or any location about what this Arkwright does. And it's just
No,
it's just
It's
numbers.
all
It's just numbers.
and math, and you don't have a brain for that. You don't have the mind for this, the education for this. It's not even your place to know this kind of stuff.
It
You're a working
looks
man.
like everything's. It looks like numbers, basically. Just like
Yeah.
he looks at it, he closes the book and puts it back on roughly where he saw it. Right, not the exact same spot, just roughly where he saw it. Right, I think we should head to the office. When you finish that note, just meet me. I'll just be outside. That's what, Paul will head outside the bed sit. And in he spends about probably like a minute waiting and just sort of thinking about this. Wondering, what troubles are in order and what's going to happen, because something's happened. And he hopes it's nothing bad, and he is genuinely hoping it's just an illicit affair, because that would explain a whole bunch of things, and he hopes it's nothing like what he's been experiencing these past few weeks.
Catherine takes a little longer to come down than you were thinking, and you can see when she comes down that she's spent 5 minutes in the bathroom tidying herself up a little. Her hair is fixed and combed, brushed through.
Mhm.
She's dabbed a little bit of makeup on from somewhere.
Which is entirely fair. Like, I want to say that's probably what Paul was trying to offer. Like, I'll give you some alone time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she's had a few minutes to compose herself and deal with the reality of what's going on instead of falling into like a panic or despair.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So when she comes down, she seems composed. She knows what they're going to do. She's got the keys in hand. And she's like, okay, Paul, thanks for doing this, by the way. I really appreciate it.
Of course, can't leave a woman on her own in such a dangerous city. He sort of chuckles. It's like, you never know what kind of shady characters there are. He sort of winks at himself, kind of thing. Kind of sort of a self-referential joke about him being a shady character.
Could you roll 2 dice for me? Yeah, and as you're looking around after telling this joke, you're like, God, there are a lot of shady looking characters in this city.
He's like, you know what? Pretty accurate assessment. I made it as a joke. It's actually a fact.
Yeah, there's all kinds of people going back and forth. There's beggars and buskers. There's constables, people in business suits, labourers and greengrocers. All kind of manner of people going back and forth, and you're like, yeah, a good few of them look pretty sketchy.
Yep, especially those constables.
Yeah,
Right.
and because all of them are giving you a suspicious eye because you're this big guy. Stands head and shoulders above most people.
I still like the fact that there's this huge, stocky, massive, muscular guy. Probably got one hell of a beer gut on him, though. Let's be honest.
Oh, definitely. And the mustache too. I mean, everyone's got a mustache at this point, but you've got like a mustache that stands out above the rest of them.
I imagine it's not like a well chromed one. I imagine it's it's not like a broom handle, but it's like a Dr. Robotnik, like it's totally frayed out at the sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got like a Dr. Robotnik kind of style mustache.
Such an image, man. Yeah, very much so. So yeah, you just take the 5-6 minutes to walk back around to the office, go up to the door. One of the keys fits, no problem. It clicks and you just go in and you're in the office. It's very neat, it's very tidy, nothing's been overturned. There's no signs of a struggle or a break-in or anything like that. There's a little ashtray on the desk and you can see like some cigarettes that have been stubbed out there. And there's like some books lying around. Some of them are obviously like record books for finances. Other ones are manuals and like research texts.
And that's like kind of like I'm imagining the sort of the lawyer wall of these very bare books that just have numbers on them, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Sort of like Paul takes a moment to take it in. I guess see the ashtray. Is it like full, like an absolutely full
Oh
of
yes,
cigarettes?
someone has sat there and chain smoked the fuck out of that since the last time it's been emptied.
And sort of Paul will look at it, look how clean the place is, and look at this and think. He'll speak out loud. So, compared to what your husband's, he seems to be a very well cleaned and prepared man.
Oh yes,
Does-
Paul takes good care of himself. He's a very organised individual.
Is he a heavy smoker?
I mean, he'll have a pipe or a cigarette, but not particularly, no.
It's just as Paul's like looking at the ashtray. Well, something's fair wound him up. Obviously, if he's no here, but something. So Paul will probably have a seat at the desk and maybe like open a couple of the drawers if he can to see if there's any books or stuff found.
Okay, so the drawer on the left opens quite easily, and there's pencils and pens, a notebook. There's like ticket stubs from the trams and whatnot.
He immediately sees the ticket stubs and he just curiously just picks up a couple.
You can see he's taking the tram to different parts of Glasgow. He's gone down to the West End at Broomhill. He's also gone up to Duke Street Prison. He's been to the Glasgow Royal Infirmary. And then he's been to the Central Station, and there's a couple of train stubs from going to and from Mallaig.
So he lays them out on it and he stacks up he meticulously stacks up all the sort of the train tickets that look like it's just regular trips like Mallaig and stuff that you can explain. But it's the trams to like the Glasgow Infirmary and the prison are kind of interesting. He taps them for a bit and reaches and grabs the notebook and just has a wee flick through to see if there's anything
So,
in it. So if it's dated or something like that, he'll try.
There's pages been torn out, the front entries. There's a slight imprint of where it's been pressed down, they've been writing on it, but the other pages are blank. And then the drawer on the right hand side of the table doesn't open, it's locked.
He doesn't he'll give it a wee hard pull, but if it doesn't open, he's not going to try and break the lock kind of thing. Not yet, that is.
Not yet.
So he closes the notebook and taps it on his chin. I wonder if this Arkwright is in prison or if he has got an estate somewhere. I wonder. So he'll go up and he'll try and have a look, touch the wall to see if there's any sort of records or stuff like that, and he'll try to look under A, right? Thinking, maybe it's under that name. Try and see if he can find the client's address. Or if failing that, maybe somewhere where the letters or records are kept, like sort of the messages, so to speak.
Yeah,
so he's got
give me
stubs
a Windex roll. You are able to find what's like a general list of clients, a contact book. And under A, it'll have Arkwright. Sir Gregor Arkwright.
And
it
try to see.
Has a home address, which is in Glasgow West End.
So he goes over to sort of the West End stub to try and figure out if it's that roughly right area.
Yes, it's the sort of Broomhill Highland sort of area, so yeah.
So he's like, okay, that explains that. That's that ticket. Why the prison and why the hospital? Did your husband have any infections or relatives that's in hospital?
No, he's perfectly healthy.
Any family or friends in prison?
Oh God, no, Lord, no.
I take
Po-
it it's a
po-
bit of a surprise to know that your husband both went to looks like to the hospital district and the prison district.
Well, I mean, maybe the prison was a client or potential client. Um, I mean, he does audits for some odd places on occasion. I know, but yeah, that would be quite unusual.
I this is a long shot. Are the ticket stubs dated in any way?
But yes, they would definitely have dates on them.
Okay. Are they dated within the last 6 months?
Oh, certainly, yes.
Right.
The
I
ones
understand.
for the hospital and the prison are very recent, within the past week.
Right.
And they even have times on them, and the times on them are nighttime, late evening.
It's well past visiting hours. That's
Yes.
easily enough. Like,
Yeah.
it's understandable. Hostels, visiting hours. These
That
are
is not
dodgy.
a time you would go to that area of the city to perform an audit or anything during business hours.
So it Paul sort of pauses looking at these, and he tries to remember the newspaper that he read on the way up to Mallaig. He was making comments about the hospital, and there was an outbreak of an infection.
Yep.
And he sort of sits scratching his chin again, and he's thinking. Now, I understand you said that he could have had clients, but these are far too recent. And you said he's had this Arkwright fellow for the last 6 months.
Yes, at least.
And for some reason, in the past wee while, he's went to both the prison and the hospital. And we can make that as a fair assumption, because there's bugger all else out there. So who was he taken from the prison? Who was he taken from the hospital to the prison?
You don't think he was doing anything illegal, do you? No, that's not my Paul at all. No, he'd never be involved in something like that. Straight as an arrow.
That's fair enough, Catherine. I'm not assuming that he's done anything. I'm just trying to piece the things together so we can find your Paul. I'm just trying to figure out why he went to the hospital and the prison. Something's no adding up here. So
He would have told me if he had a friend in hospital. I'm sure he would.
when was the last time you talked to him?
Saturday.
Saturday, just
He was supposed to
his-
come home at the weekend, but he said he had extra work to do. And he wasn't going to make it. And by the time he got home on the Sunday, he'd just have to go back again, and it wasn't worth the trip. Except I was a little, bothered by it, but that's the nature of the job.
sort of Paul will have a look through. I'm guessing like other surfaces and stuff like that, just to see if there's anything.
It's very well kept. It's not dusty. It's not grimy. It's very clean. Around the ashtray, there's ashes piled up and spilled over. You might even see a doubt that's been dropped on the ground and stepped out into the carpet.
And sort of like scorch mark on like that one specific area of the carpet, and the rest of the place
just a
is
little bit, yeah.
really nice. Catherine, would you mind if I try and have a look in that drawer? And he points to the locked drawer in the desk.
Oh, and she looks at the keys that she has, going through them. I don't think any of these would fit.
Sort of, he goes on his knees and has a look at the desk, and actually has a look at the construction of it, and so like the side panel and stuff like that, just to see if there's a sort of a way that he could maybe, how's it, kind of not unscrew, but more if
Take
there's
it
a way
apart,
that he
kind of
could,
thing.
yeah, knock it apart to get access to the drawer without shattering or breaking the lock or door.
You would definitely have to break the lock or break the drawer itself. You're knocking one of the panels off the drawer in order to get into the contents. The actual lock for the thing is one of those tiny little, just round key locks.
it's very piddly. You know, you put a hell of a bit of welly behind it, and it's not exactly going to stand up to you, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know that. I know the kind of lock you're saying. Catherine, what's your thoughts if I accidentally break one of these locks?
If it takes this to Paul, I don't care. He can buy another lock.
Right. So he'll take maybe he'll have a look around to see if there's something that's got a bit of weight behind it, maybe like a paperweight or something.
There'll be like a letter opener you could use.
Oh, letter opener works.
To Jimmy open with.
And try to brute force his way with it. Like,
Yeah,
it's not a delicate. He's not too delicate.
I don't think we need to roll for it because over time, I mean, you get it one way or another anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, so it pops open, and there is a single journal that's inside. It's a red leather journal. It's cracked. It's well used. It's got one of those kind of seal and lock things on it. But I mean, you'd be able to pry that open easily enough as well.
As you know, Paul would lift it up. Is there any sort of torn papers in it, or is it literally just this journal?
It's just that journal. There's nothing else in there.
And Paul holds it and sort of looks, and he's feeling a bit sketchy, and he sort of wonders if the dimensions of the drawer look like the size of the drawer should be. If that makes, you know, he's thinking, there's no hidden compartment in there, is there? sort of tapping at the sides of it while holding the journal in his hand.
Give me a roll with 2 dice.
I think he's got search hidden. Give me a second. Where's my...
Under this one, that would just mean you're 2 dice anyway. It doesn't really help.
Yeah, cool.
But that's one of the reasons why I was wanting to change it. You tap at it. It doesn't sound hollow. It looks to be the right kind of dimensions. There's no little latches or slides or anything like that inside. It seems to be just a kind of regular drawer.
Okay, so he feels confident that he's not missed something there, right? So he's just like, all right, okay. And he'll pop the latch on the journal and start having a wee read through on it.
I don't want to show this to players. I'm going to edit this just so it's yours. And if you scroll down, there's a transcript for it. So it's like a diary journal. There's lots of entries in it. These are the ones.
I got to pause for a moment. Again, I have to give credit for the level of research and involvement that you do for this. Even if you hand wrote this, fantastic. I say hand wrote, like you find the font and stuff like that. If you got this from an image, that just adds to the touch of fantastically done.
Oh no, I wrote it and just did it in Photoshop. It's easy. But yeah, so these are the entries that really stand out to you because a lot of them are just he seems to be taking observation notes about someone, their activities, their going and coming, and a lot of it is day-to-day stuff and it's very brief. It's specific and accurate, but it's very brief. And it doesn't give you a lot of kind of extra information, but these 3 entries in particular stand out.
Sorry, he sort of looks at the person, he sort of taps it for a moment, and he's thinking, oh, why did you write it as the person in your wee private journal? Could you not just said the name? And I'm just going to be quiet as I'm like reading through this.
Sure, no bother.
He sort of looks at Dr. James Cullen as it's written, and he sort of thinks, maybe take some notes. So he'll probably like reach to get probably the notebook that nothing's been written in.
Yes, and there's pencils there, like I said, to be able to just
and grab one of the pencils, and he'll probably start scribbling in some notes in it, like, you know, the person, the dates and stuff that's highlighted that he thinks are interesting. My investigation into this doctor suggests he is yet another of the dark cults. So, you know, like dark cult underscore it about 17 times. And I'm guessing the 4th would be Sunday.
I'm just calculating to
4th
make
of
sure I
March.
got the dates right when I was like talking about things. Today's the 7th, so that's the 6th, that's 5th. No, that would be the Saturday.
Saturday, okay.
It probably
Which was
should be the 5th because I meant it to be the Sunday.
meant to be the okay. So that was meant to be the day that no one saw him.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Update that.
Oh, look at that! What used to be a 4-hour Midrest Reddit. It's a 5th.
He also wrote the 5th. Yes, and what I'm going for is the last entry is the night of the last day at AM, so.
Mm-hmm. Paul will sort of stare at this for a while. And in his head, he'll go to the notebook and he'll scribe down a few things. That it looks like there's potentially 2 factions here that are fighting.
Mm-hmm.
This dark cult, and then there's the family of the Great Father. And the Great Father, those fish people from Malag, kind of scribing down like notes and like sort of a mind map kind of style thing. And then it's sort of the darkness ? Dark cult ? But both of them point to James Cullen. Acolyte ? Like, and he pauses for a moment with the pen, and he tries to write ally or enemy underneath it. Like, about this whole James Cullen, is he a good person or is he a bad?
Do you show your notes or the diary's contents to Catherine?
I think while he's writing it, he doesn't take a moment to hide what he's writing in the notebook from Catherine, and I imagine that she's probably sort of came over and she's probably like maybe reading over his shoulder kind of thing of the notes, as well as the notebook, what Paul is like highlighting and describing and stuff, probably interpreting it in her that maybe this is something that she should take because he's like underscoring stuff and circling things. And then he'll sort of put the book down with it open on this page. Catherine, I'm not quite sure what to make of this, but I don't think it's anything good. If anything, and I'm no a smart man, but this looks like it's related to what happened, and what happened up north might be related to this failure from your husband.
How is that even possible?
Sort of, Paul will lean back in the chair and sort of stare at the ceiling for a couple of moments, going, I've seen far too many mad things to think that things are impossible these days. But you can see in the book, it says, gift my wife Catherine the immortality she most truly deserves and welcome her into our blessed family as a reward for my service and possibly my sacrifice. And going by what we encountered when we were up there, I think we stopped whatever you were about to be given.
Why would he? What? This doesn't make sense.
Oh, I agree. It does no make sense. I'm trying to make it, and as confused as you are, I can wholeheartedly repeat I share that confusion.
You can tell she's upset, but it's just a bafflement more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's the pieces of the jigsaw don't fit in her mind, and that's
Oh,
clear
yeah.
as day in her expression. She just kind of like sinks into the other chair in the office. Is just kind of staring into space, you know.
So, if we push these details aside, these flagrant words of dark cults and magics and darkness, we know that from these notes, Paul left on the Saturday to go and do something with this James Cullen.
He's never mentioned a James Cullen to me, ever.
I'd maybe take that as a blessing.
He tells me everything, Paul. He never keeps anything from me.
Again, maybe that's for the best, going by this whole mess of a situation.
Is it possible that's not his? That someone else has put that there for us or someone else to find?
There's every possibility. Do you know his handwriting?
It does.
Sorry, Paul will pass over the journal to her to look at.
It does look like his handwriting. And she's got like tears in her eyes at this point.
I mean, the place is neat and tidy. He was obviously stressed over something, and I'm going to guess he was stressed over this James Cullen as he points at the cigarette ashtray. And especially, he also points at the burnt hole in the carpet. Like, I imagine like that's like the only areas of dirt in this entire place
yes.
is like the burnt hole in the carpet and this ashtray.
Definitely, yeah.
I see two routes to go from here. Investigate this James Cullen and this Arkwright. Whoever this Arkwright is, I believe that's the person that's been giving these tasks to your husband.
She pulls a little tissue out from her pocket, dabs her eyes, and takes a deep breath and sits upright. Thanks for bringing me here, Paul. I think I will return to the bedsit and wait for Paul.
Do you mind if I keep this? As he sort of like lifts the journal.
She ponders
Yeah.
for a second. Yeah, you keep it. When I speak to him, I'm going to get answers.
Sort of Paul will take the notebook and he'll sort of tear out the few pages that he'd scribbled notes in and stuffs that in the Paul Martin notes journal. And he'll scribe like his contact details, like his address and stuff like that.
I was going to say she'd probably want to exchange details in case she needs more help.
Yeah. And say, look, you have any problems, you contact this number and you ask for Paul. And it's going to probably be like the number of the church or something like that. It's not his house.
Yeah. Work office, I think, would probably have a telephone, and that'd be the easiest way to get through.
That'd be the colliery or something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
And
She shakes your hand with both hands after you've locked up the office again. Thank you, Paul.
I imagine it's like also that is just to say, so he'll have walked her to the bed sit as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And seen her off that way. And then of course, like, let her have the keys and stuff like that and made sure you lock yourself in there. And keep in touch now. And then Paul will probably, this is where he probably will be outside somewhere, and he'll probably just sort of try to digest this for a while. Sort of quiet contemplation, and when he walks back to the train station to get the train back through to Edinburgh.
I mean, you'll have a couple hours because you need to get the train back to Edinburgh and then get the bus or whatever to Dalkeith from there.
And he'll look through his notes, and it's like, detailed of it. It's like train or trams to the prison, trams to the hospital, and they're very late at night. And Silly question. Was there multiple stubs for the prison and hospital, or just a couple?
Yes, multiple. So he'd been going for a few nights consecutively.
Okay, so he'd been visiting something, right? Let me try and think. No, he realizes this isn't something that he needs to tell everyone. He doesn't have the time to do any further investigations, and one, he can't do it himself, especially if this Cullen seems to have multiple people. And he also realizes that he probably needs the brains of the others, and also he needs to go back to work. His wife is already very angry enough as it is with him.
Yes, and when you return to Dalkeith, do you have... what kind of places that he lives in again?
I imagine it's like a worker's house, you know, like the really long tenements. Not long tenements, like long terraces of houses. Like they're often like single-story houses.
Uh-huh.
Give me a second.
Yeah, I know like the village cottage ones, it's like the whole length of the street is just linked terraced ones.
Yeah. I've got an image from Lark Hall that I saw a long time ago. I'm just going to just throw it to you on Discord.
This is actually Dalkeith in the 20s here.
Right. So it would be kind of rural-ish Dalkeith.
Yeah.
But
This is obviously the main street, yeah.
Like, this is the kind of style of house I imagine that he stayed in, you know? Just shorts, loads of them, like a worker's house. Yeah. And it's like, you know, like everyone knows everyone kind of style community.
So when you arrive, you are just about to like knock the door or unlock the door when Agnes throws the door open, and she's got that face on her that she always has when she's ready for a fight.
Oh, Agnes, you know the look that makes me so happy.
Get the hell in here right now.
Yes, dear. He just goes on in.
She slams the door closed behind you and yells at the kids to get out into the back garden.
You know the way I see it, right? Like because Paul's like a 6'5", like he's an absolute giant.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine Agnes is something like 4'2".
Yes, but completely intimidating to Paul.
Incredibly so. It's that idea. It's a bit of a joke, but I know, and it kind of is a bit comical. But I enjoy a little bit of comic for it. But I just think it works really.
But
well
again, I mean, it's completely realistic because we've all seen that couple.
Yes. So, you know, Paul's probably getting his ears torn to shreds, and he's getting an absolute belting.
She's right away. She's going to be like, "I had the bloody police here looking for you. You left a woman
Looking for me
in a refuge." In Edinburgh, Paul, don't act like you're fucking stupid.
Aye. She was. Some horrible things had happened to her. It was wrong to just leave her down there. She had to be.
What the hell are you doing with random women in Edinburgh?
Well, saving them from horrible men.
Oh, so you're a saviour now? And what about me, Paul? You out gallivanting, disappearing for days at a time with this bloody house nonsense? I'm beginning to doubt there is one.
Something about it probably causes Paul to sort of like lean back and wonder if the house is even real himself. Like, it's one of those, like, I'm trying to think like how to describe the look. Like, he probably looks browbeaten, but then with her saying that, he probably is going like, wait, she might be onto something here. Maybe this is all an hallucination.
And where the hell have you been anyway? You're fucking midden. Look at you. What's all this muck all over your trousers?
I think that's seaweed.
Seaweed? What the hell do you mean seaweed? Where have you been?
There's a hell of a storm up in my leg.
A storm
Caused an
of what?
absolute
Seaweed?
ruckus. I just washed in. There's a lot of tides and stuff washed in. I had to go through some rock pools to get about.
Why the hell would you be doing that? I've had Paul, and just like pulls the chair out, sits down, cross-legged, cross-armed in front of you, says, "You're going to tell me what's happening right now. No more running off for days on end, come back covered in bloody seaweed. You're going to tell me what's up."
He takes like one heck of a deep breath, right? And then it's one of those ones, right? So to help you get an idea for Agnes's character, she's probably had these kinds of discussions before with him. Where he's went off with his friends, he's tried to hide it, and then he's eventually confessed that no, he was actually getting a present for her, or it was trying to arrange a party for her, or yes, he was out drinking with the lads, kind of thing, right? So historically, like that's
he's like a naughty
it.
schoolboy type thing.
Yeah. So he takes a very deep breath and he pulls out the journal and he puts it on the table, and he takes out the little notebook as well that he had all the notes and stuff, and he goes, "This is going to take a while to explain." And then he'll start explaining things as best as he can from his point of view from it. So he'll explain the house and the troubles with the house, and he'll explain that there was things happening, and for the longest while he believed it was just nefarious squatters, kids having mischief. And then there was a thing in the basement that killed the so-and-so. And the thing is, Agnes will know the names of them because he was still going back home and he will have said all the names of the people. And so she'll still be aware of how one of them died in the house. And Paul will take the time to explain it. Now, I'm fully expecting Agnes will have a look of absolute fizz and probably tell him that he's speaking absolute bullshit. At which point, Paul will probably give her the look that Paul has probably given each time he is truly honest about stuff.
Yeah, she knows when you're lying, Paul. You're not that clever. Do you know what I mean? She's the brains of the operation in this house.
Yes. So but that's like...
But I was thinking she would actually be very accepting of it right away. And she's like, well, obviously it's like evil spirits.
And I think as she starts to say that, I think it starts encouraging Paul to be even more open. So instead of Paul having this dejected, he starts to get more animated and he starts to actually talk, and they starts to have a discussion with his wife about it. And it becomes, instead of him going, "Yes, miss, it was," it's like, actually, so you see, so what happened is, and then this, and I thought it was that. And then of course, Agnes is probably going, "So how did you?" And he details it as honest as he can, even how he thought it was before, because there's evil things, and he does his prayers and stuff like that, but this is the first time something like this has actually happened. He understands there's miracles. This is far from a miracle. So he will explain absolutely everything, and then he'll detail about Catherine and such like that through in even then, the being in the Edinburgh halls, like, he will actually explain what he saw and how he can't make sense of it.
Yeah, so I mean, she'll listen and then, like, matter-of-factly say, well, obviously it's like evil spirits or demons, because everybody knows ghosts are a real thing. Everybody knows, like, brownies and fairies are a real thing. God and the devil are real things. Why? It's just,
and that's why
he'll sort of her.
And that's why he'll say that's why he saved the woman. It wasn't safe to leave her down there with that thing. That's why he took her out of that, and that's also why he took Catherine away from Mallaig, because there was those things, those country folk.
Yes, and then at the end of it, you are the big lovable oaf that she fell in love with. She knows you're a big kind-hearted guy. You can see.
And she has all of the
reasons-
answers to what he's done.
Yeah, and you can see the reasons why he's done the things that he's done in the way he's done it, and it makes sense to her now. She's more annoyed that you just like didn't tell her in the first place.
And
Even-
he'll explain why, and the reason why is he thought it was these sensible things, like it was squatters, it was just an angry criminal and stuff like that. Things that made sense. Like, of course, it's now evil spirits. It has to be evil spirits.
Yeah.
There is no other reason it's not evil spirits. But in his head, it was like a kind of Occam's razor. Like the most simple answer is the most likely.
Yeah.
You know.
And then she's kind of like babying him because she's like, "Oh, you stupid man."
Yes,
Do you know what
yes. And he's not taking it as he's stupid. He's more taking it as wife's right.
Yeah, she knows better. Yeah, she's always right.
She knows best. And it's probably interesting that that's probably like a relieving fact for him. Like, the world is set back on the correct path again, thanks to Agnes, if that makes sense.
I think you can recover the stress for that as well, because that would be like the downtime as well, talking out with someone, getting off your chest, and then having a positive response to that as well would definitely reduce stress. But after all this as well, I'm just going to say, well, Paul, I think it's clear about what needs to happen next. The next time you go into town, you're going to have to show me this house. And I have to meet these people that you've been doing your little investigations with.
Paul, trying to think, like, yes, of course, Agnes. They'll love to meet you. I've told them all about you. You'll be able to set everything right. You always have. You're the smartian of all of us.
I know, love. Now sit down and I'll make you something to eat because you look like shit.
Probably along the lines of go
wash up, scanning.
Go get some of that gunk out or something, or get changed into fresh clothes and stuff.
Yeah, it's like go wash up while we eat dinner.
You make Agnes sound fantastic.
Well, I mean, there was only one way she could go really when you were describing her, so.
It's the fact that I just think it's just this very firm, stocky woman that's.
If you're going to be like this big, giant sap,
It has to be.
then you have to have a woman that is stern. I mean, as well, man, it's Scotland in the fucking 1920s. They were hard fucking people.
Oh
You know
my
what I mean?
god, yes. And it's just the fact when it's like describing her, and it's the only person that I had in my head is it has to be Mrs. Broom.
Yes. Oh yeah,
And
yeah. My granny had that kind of look about as well. That very, not fat but stocky. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
They look like they could knock down a door with their shoulder.
They probably have. Like,
Yes.
very strong women they
They'd
were.
come into the street with the rolling pin, man. They just like beat away people and stuff like that. Yeah, I could totally envision her when you were describing her. But yes, and then your downtime is covered by talking out and recovering stress, so that covers that as well. And then you're all set up for tomorrow.
Huzzah.
And of course, the clue that you got, you'll need to share that with everyone else because they haven't got that clue at all.
Which is the whole of identifying names and this whole dark cult and stuff like that.
Yes. So I'm hoping the next one is a lot of in character, just sitting down, laying out the clues, coming up with a timeline, figuring out what's going on, and then choosing where your next step is, because there's a couple of different avenues you can go down.
And hopefully the clues that I've got add up with clues that they've got,
Yes.
and we're able to glue it together.
They do. If you just make the connection is the difference, but yeah, I mean your clue is quite explicit, so.
I like mine. Mine's made sense. Mine's flowed quite well. You done a good job of not having to crowbar things. Again, it felt like it flowed quite nicely.
I mean, I guess that's why I prefer the sort of improv style for a lot of it, but yeah, I mean, I think making things line up and match is not too difficult unless someone like throws you a curveball. Shy missing so many after her character died was bad, but in a way it's good because it means that we just skipped the character she was going to bring in and we brought in a different character, which made more sense.
Fair enough.
And because she's a cop, because Laura was like, well, how does it make sense that she's suddenly into everybody else's investigation? I was like, yeah, but she's a cop. That's going to be her natural instinct, is to latch on to investigation.
And also the fact there is the details of a woman that Paul had brought into a refuge home and made aware to the police and things like that. So there's lots of...
Yeah, when she finds all that kind of stuff, she's going to be drawn
strings.
in more. Or there's lots of hooks there for her to be drawn in more. So
I was also trying to think, like, if Paul dies, who would fill the footsteps behind Paul?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would probably be his foreman or something, or like a work colleague.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't see Agnes being the one to push it.
No, she's
I could see Agnes going to work and get them to go and find him.
Yeah, I could see a close friend or brother or something like that stepping in and then her telling them what happened, because now that she knows,
like,
and then
them
taking it from there, and that's the link. Yeah,
I think that's just in case Paul does pop his clogs, because this is a very brutal game.
I think that's it can be brutal, man, but I've not put in a lot of like combat situations really. But I mean, like when they were doing that thing on the island at the end, there was just the last 10-20 minutes of it, there was a lot of room to take stress and pain and wounds very quickly. But Laura was like that. Laura's like, I don't want an action one, I want an investigation one next. I need time to rest. I was like, you're only taking 2 damage or something, man. What are you talking about?
I imagine like Laura's the type of person that fires 1 bullet and then needs to reload the full 100 clip magazine.
Yeah, to be fair.
Because but 1 bullet short.
She really likes the investigation mystery aspect. The combat is like a bit too scary for her because she's very invested in her character.
I like to play the dumb character because I find I sometimes dominate games if I play the skilled character, and I don't like dominating the game, so that's why I like playing the big dumb oaf, because I can still try, and even if I fail, sometimes it helps inspire the other players to try that route.
I mean, I don't think you've ever dominated any of the games I've had you in.
I think I'd like to think because I've had games where I realised I try to avoid doing that again.
Yeah.
Or I've been in games where someone else has and thought, I don't like that, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. Because Laura was being a little better. Because I was like, make sure you, when you feel like you're getting frustrated because other players or characters aren't saying much, that you ask them, what they want or what they think, so that it prompts them to give more input.
It's a really tough spot to be as a player where you really desperately want them to say this one specific thing.
It's not just that, it's like she's got a lot to say. So I mean, just in real life, and she's got a pretty ADD thing where like she has to like get out. Do you know what I mean? So like waiting for people's turns to say something, especially when like it's Alan or Teresa, and they're sitting there just like thinking about what they're going to say, or how they want to phrase things, and they're taking a while to get it around to it, and she's like, "God damn it, hurry up and say something."
Meanwhile, there's me just mocking her for hiding in the back.
I mean, that's perfectly justified. Well, see when they were going to the basement, mate, and she was like, and I was like, do you have a light source? And she's like, I have a flashlight. Here you go, Finlay. It was the way that man, and he was like, what? he didn't want to go in there first. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Just perfectly, so very, very, very apt.
The island was pretty good, yeah. It was a shame we couldn't get you there, but it was better than having you go there and then you weren't there. Do you know what I mean? For the second part or something, because then that logically wouldn't have made much sense at all. So
I did try to give you plenty of notice.
yeah,
for
yeah.
It. Like,
So this way
I
kind of works out, man, and that's why I had you kind of doing the league thing a bit more.
I'm looking forward to tomorrow's session to see how everything goes.
Yeah.